Thank you very much. I don't have a lovely series of slides. I'm going to just talk to you for the next 12 or 15 minutes about my life over the last 7 or 8 years. Let me give you a bit of context into the introduction. I'm from Leitrim Village, just across the River Shannon, a little bit north from here. And it's my second time here. I was very honoured to have been invited to speak here at the launch of the suicide bereavement programme in Vita House a couple of years ago. But 8 years ago, I found myself in a position where I thought that the world would be better off without me. Unhappy in life, unhappy in work, non-existent in love life, and unhappy in my own self-esteem. And I made the decision one Sunday afternoon in October 2010 that the world would be better off without me. Before I had a chance to actually act on that decision, my text message beeped on the other side of the room. My phone just hopped off the side cabinet, and I went over and I picked it up, and it was a text message from my uncle inviting me to a memorial service the following weekend to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the death of my cousin who had died from leukemia at the age of 12. And immediately it got me thinking about my family 20 years on from that event. We're still feeling the devastation from an event that nobody had any control over, and if they had, they would have done everything in their power to stop it. And here was I, 20 years later, having made the decision to put my family through that again, and I knew I couldn't proceed with that wish at the time. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that organizations like Vita House or Pieta House or Aware or Console or any of those organizations that existed at the time, I'd never heard those words before. But in the corner of the room, the television was on, like it's normally on in most houses, whether it's the radio or the TV, it's on in the background, you don't really pay attention to it. And I heard the voice of Morgan Freeman coming on the radio. Now, has anyone seen the movie The Bucket List? Anyone want to tell me what it's about?
Wish list.
A wish list? What's the movie about, though?
The 2 men that were supposedly dying.
Yeah, so it's 2 guys terminally sick, and they write this list of things they want to do before they die, and it's a little bit Hollywood and it's a little bit twee, but I found myself watching the movie thinking, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So I sat down and I wrote a list of things I wanted to do, and on the 10th of the 10th, 2010, which was my cousin's actual anniversary, I set about ticking a bucket list of 10 things off by the 11th of the 11th, 2011. And over the course of the next 13 months, I went on 50 blind dates. I traveled to 10 new countries. Yeah, that did happen. 10 new countries. I applied for 10 dream jobs. I learned to swim. I learned to cook. I lost a load of weight, which I've lovely managed to put back on again, and the rest. But I had the most amazing experience of my life. And from about 3 or 4 weeks into that journey, I realized that there was no way I was ever going to go back to the position I'd been in that Sunday afternoon in my bedsit in Dublin. Now, the reality was I'd cut myself off from all my friends, all my family. And over the course of that 13 months, I realized that actually there was not just my family in the dictionary sense of the word, my parents, my sisters, my nephews around me, but also this unseen family of strangers, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's your colleagues in work that maybe you just say hello to over the lunch table every day. But there's these people that exist in your life that play a part in your life, whether you really think they do or not. Fast forward a couple of years, and I find myself listening to the radio, and I hear about an organization called Cycle Against Suicide, and I know they were here about a month ago in Roscommon for a major event. And I listened to it, I'm thinking, okay, last year I ran a marathon, I learned to swim, I did a triathlon, I cycled around New Zealand, but I found the cycling, the fun part. I was still too heavy to really run properly, and I'm still recovering from that marathon. Probably 7 years later, I still am recovering from that marathon. I'll never do it again. But I loved the cycling, and I thought, okay, here's a combination of 2 things I'm very passionate about: suicide prevention and cycling. And I thought, I want to get involved in this organization. And I found myself on a bicycle in Cavan, cycling towards Dublin for 2 or 3 days, back in, I think it was early 2013. And I listened to other people talk. And for the first time, I realized that I wasn't the only person who'd had suicidal thoughts or who had struggled with their own mental health. And I found myself that family, my Cycle Against Suicide family. And I thought, I want to do something that might inspire others, try and get people who were in the same situation as I was in a couple of years ago and make them make the same decision that I did to stick with life and give it another go. And so I had this dream of cycling around the world. And I Googled, is there any way I can do this? And I Googled kind of like big, long bike races, and I found a race that literally is around the entire planet on a bicycle. It's called the World Cycle Race, 30,000 kilometers, so it's pretty long. And I signed up and took to the start line on the 1st of March 2014, and 16 months later, by some minor miracle, everybody else ran out of money, had visa trouble, got injured, couldn't get into other countries, in loads of problems for everybody else in the race, and I was the only person to finish. So therefore became the most unlikely winner of the World Cycle Race. Thank you. I suppose for me, and why I've been asked to speak today, and the subject I've been asked to speak about today, is about families. And for me, I don't just have my family, I have all of these groups of families. I've mentioned my Cycle Against Suicide family. I have the football teams I've been involved in. Each single one of those is a family over time. The workplaces I've been in, some of them have been fantastic to me. Others have been the most dysfunctional families in the world, but we've all been there. And so for me, it's been about getting to know all those people as a family and over the years. And I suppose for me, social media has been a big family for me. The way I managed to fund the cycle, which cost in the region of about 45,000 euros, was I actually pre-sold a book, and I asked these people to come on board and help me, and 800 people. I'll put it into context. If I said to you now, and you knew nothing about me, okay, I'm going to cycle around the world. I've never really cycled before, but I'm going to cycle around the world, and then when I come back, I'm going to write a book, probably a bigger job than actually doing the cycle. And then you'll get your copy then, but I want you to pay for it today. I'm pretty sure none of you would bother your wallets. It'd be like going, yeah, no, I think Tesco's going to get my money this week. But 800 people, by some miracle, decided that they would actually support the dream and the cycle, and they got behind me, and we kind of became this family spread out across the planet through whether it was Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, and had the most amazing experience. I met tens of thousands of people who I'm still in contact with today, for the most part, a lot of them. Very few negatives. The amount of random acts of kindness from people who just offered me beds, offered me food, offered me money, offered me conversation, or just company even for half a day on a bike in Bangkok or Australia or across the Rocky Mountains in New Mexico. It was just absolutely amazing to meet so many fantastic people. And I suppose for me, that's what it all boils down to, is I was on my own. I think my sister drove the first week with me. So she left me in Vienna. And then after that, the next time I saw a family member was when I got to Florida. Bearing in mind, I went across Europe, Asia, Australia, and across America to get to Florida. It was a year, maybe 14, 15 months later. So it was a huge journey without my physical family, but with an absolutely massive group of people that I now consider my family. So for me, family isn't just about the people that you're born with or born to or that you give birth to. It's about the group, the people who share your interests, who share your workplace, who share your communities. And I think it's so important not to lose sight of that. And it's been a phenomenal journey for me over the last 8 years, with literally thousands and thousands of fantastic people who have become part of my family over the course of the last decade or so. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you've got loads and loads of stuff. So that's kind of me. I'll keep it kind of sweet and short. And yeah, I'll leave that with you. But it's just to think about maybe alternative meanings to the word family. Thank you.